All right, well, I'm here in Sculkieran in Glasnevin in Dublin, and delighted to be joined by the Brighton and now Republic of Ireland senior striker, Evan Ferguson. Evan, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. All
keeping
good.
well?
Yeah, keeping
we're,
well.
We're here, I've got one of the booklets in front of me, so futsal in the yard. Really good initiative where the FEI have been getting young kids, disadvantaged kids with special needs as well, to play football and to more importantly keep involved with football. So you've been meeting some of the kids this morning, Evan, having the fun with them?
Came in today and see it now. It's very good what they do for the kids now. It's for them to come in and play football. I think football's for everyone, you know what I mean? So sort of a very good thing for the FAI to do.
Can you remember when you were around that age? Like I was watching through the window there earlier, and kids of 10, 11, 12, and when you were around that age, did you ever think that you'd be playing at some point Premier League, Republic of Ireland senior team? Was it ever even in your head at that point?
I think when you're that young, you just want to play football, you know what I mean? Like when you're with your mates, you just want to play football, and you're not thinking, oh, Premier League, this and that. I think that comes a bit later, you know what I mean? Because at that age, you just want to have fun.
What was that like last week? So last Thursday night, around about 9:30, 89th minute in that match against Norway. And I know I was chatting to your dad, Barry, you know, to come off the bench at the Aviva Stadium and make your first cap for the Republic of Ireland senior team, that must have been quite a moment.
Yeah, I think it's hard to take in at that moment in time, you know what I mean? Because you're trying to concentrate, you know what I mean? Even though like you're going there your whole life watching games and that, but you're just trying to concentrate and do a job. But I think looking back on it, it's going there in front of your family and your friends and everyone that goes to the games. It's unbelievable feeling, yeah.
Are you aware, like I was talking to your dad Barry earlier, and a lot of people be familiar with Barry's career. He played over in England and for League of Ireland as well, but he was saying he was almost not watching the match, he was watching the subs bench and trying to see were you warming up and were you close to coming on. Like, were you aware of where your family were sitting and you're aware of what's going on?
I hadn't a clue now, because I was texting my family that before the game, but I didn't have a clue where they were sitting, to be honest, so I couldn't go up and wave at them or anything. So, no.
Your dad, Barry, so like I know he does a lot of work with the FEI as well in development, and he was a centre half. So what was it like? Like, was it the type of thing that you moulded into a striker because he's giving you tips when you're younger as to how to cope with good centre halves or vice versa? Like, how did that all come about?
I don't know. I think I just like scoring goals, you know what I mean? I think that was my thing. I just like scoring and just different types of finishes. But if I ever needed that from him, it's obviously easier to get advice because he's a centre back. He'd know what it's like playing against different types of strikers and different types of centre backs. So it's good to have him there if I ever do need that.
Like when you're looking at other people for advice, I guess the senior players in Stephen Kenny's squad are quite important. Like, what's it been like, you know, with the likes of Seamus Coleman and Shane Duffy and James McLean? Have they been very forthcoming in terms of, you know, arm around the shoulder, giving you little bits of advice as to, you know, when they came into the squad first?
Yeah, they're all at top now, to be fair. Like, going into the squad, everyone's welcoming in that. So I obviously knew Duffy from before. He wasn't in the last squad, but like even at Brighton, he was very good with me. And going into the squad, the likes of Seamus and James and that, they were very good with me now. It makes it an easier experience.
When we look at the Euro 2024 qualifier draw, it wasn't the easiest draw we could have got, France and the Netherlands. Like, I suppose the expectation now that you've made your debut is that you'll push on and be involved with that squad, hopefully. Like, when you see the draw, are you like, Jesus, that could have gone better? Or are you thinking, what a chance to impress against some of the best defenders in the world? You've got the likes of Van Dijk with the Dutch and Varane with the French team. It's not a bad challenge to have.
Yeah, I think playing against them teams, I think as the Irish, we always try fancy ourselves. Like, we go in there as the underdogs every time, you know what I mean? So we always try fancy ourselves and give it the best go, and I don't think we really care against who we play against, you know what I mean? So whoever we have to play against, we're going to try win, and I think under the gaffer now, Stephen, I think we have a chance, you know what I mean? So
what's Stephen been like to work with? Because like we know he's a manager that has nurtured young talent and likes to bring young talent into the squad, and certainly has developed young players and brought them in. And look, he's taken the brunt of a lot of pressure when results don't go well. Undoubtedly, questions come up, but you know, all the focus now, I guess, is in Euro 2024. But what's the experience been like with Stephen from your point of view?
Yeah, he's been very good now. He has been very good. He has a style of play, and I think everyone's on the same wavelength as what they need to do. So it's obviously going out, there's no mixed signals going onto the pitch, so that makes it a lot easier. But I think it's good for the young players, like the likes of me and stuff, that want to come and break through, that he does give you the opportunity. So I think it'll benefit the country if he's going to try and bring the young players in, and I think, yeah, it'll benefit everyone.
You've had a fairly big month, because even last month, turning 18, getting your first professional contract with Brighton, like that must be a special moment to finally get the pen and the paper and confirm you're staying till 2026 with Brighton.
Yeah, I think it's everyone's sort of dream, really, is knowing that they're going to be playing football for the next 4 years. You know what I mean? But they do it, and I think that they welcome me really well. Like, I've been over there now sort of 2 years or whatever, and I'm glad to stay there for another 4. You know what I mean? So just want to wait and see what happens now.
Some people will be familiar with the fact that you had Liverpool after your services as well when you were leaving Bowes, but was that a tough choice to make? Like, I've heard you talking before about the fact that, you know, some young lads go off to a big team like Liverpool and maybe get lost in the system, whereas Brighton, you probably felt fairly welcomed when you went over there and tried with them. Was it a tough decision between Brighton and Liverpool?
Yeah, I think it was sort of my thinking, really. Like, I've obviously went over and tried with the 2 clubs, and Liverpool, you could just tell, like, it was a lot different, because you could tell that, like, they could come in and just buy like an 80 million striker, which they have now with Nunes. So, but when I went over to Brighton, it was different. Like, they had a lot of Irish lads, and they were successful as well over the Irish lads. So I thought, there's a pathway here, you know what I mean? And it's lucky now, looking back on it, I think it was the right choice. When
you look at that Brighton forward line, like the likes of Danny Welbeck, I guess, it's someone like, is it a case of staying late after training, doing shooting drills with the likes of Danny and these lads, or how do you manage that? I suppose you're picking up plenty of tips from those lads as well at club level.
Yeah, he's a top lad as well. He's really looked after me, but I just, in training every day, like, you see the little bits, you learn bits from everyone, you know what I mean? Because I've been doing it for years, but just going in every day, doing what you need to do, doing a few extras, and that's what you need to do.
What's the transition been like? I know Graham Potter was a big fan of yours. Now he's off to Chelsea, and Roberto De Zerbi has come in and listen, got off to a brilliant start with Brighton. But what's that been like transition wise? Because I suppose for a young player, it's an interesting moment when a new manager comes in and you're wondering, you know, am I going to get opportunities here, or what's the story?
Yeah, I think at the start, like, you just have to be patient, you know what I mean? Because the old manager, he knew what you were like and he knew what you could do, but with this, you just have to sort of start from fresh again, you know what I mean? So you still have to go and prove yourself again, and hopefully I can do that and try to get into the squad, into the team.
Is it? Of course, there's the rumours of potential loan move in January, and with young players, I guess that's it's an option to get plenty of first team football. Like, is that something that you've had discussions with already? I know there's no doubt a host of clubs lining up. You'll probably have options if you decided to go down that route. But is that something that you're thinking about for January, or had talks about yet?
I think that's what the loan's for. You know what I mean? To give players in this kind of situation things to do, like games to play. But I need to go back now and we'll have a chat about it, but I'm not sure, like, I haven't had any chat about it yet, you know what I mean? So, because the break and stuff, I'll go back and see what they have to say. Like,
are you getting a chance to watch the World Cup at the moment? Are you getting, like, is it I guess at the stage now where once the international games are over, you get the chance to relax, play a bit of golf or whatever it is with your mates and chill out? Do you get time to just sit down and enjoy it?
I've like a week off now, so I've just been out relaxing. I was playing golf yesterday. It's not the greatest weather for it, but just time to relax and see friends and family, you know what I mean? So,
are you any good at the golf?
I'd say I'm alright.
What are you playing off?
I don't have a handicap for it, and I just play the play, you know what I mean? But I'm alright, like, I can hit the ball.
It's a stress reliever in some ways.
Yeah.
You've been great with your time, Evan. I suppose when I'm talking about the World Cup and I'm thinking of players, unfortunately Erling Haaland wasn't there to come up against you last Thursday, but like when you're sitting there watching the World Cup and you're seeing players like, you know, Mbappe and Giroud and these lads doing the business, and even players gone past, are there strikers that you've kind of moulded your game on and you like to think you're alike in some ways, or is it just a case of, no, my own player?
I think it's you just want to be your own player, but it's sort of a mix. Like, you look at different players, like you look at Harry Kane, Lewandowski, Haaland, you look at all them players and you just try to get different bits from what they've done and what they can do and try to bring it into your own game.
I'm sure you're used to playing against big players, wasn't it? 14 years of age you were playing against Chelsea? Yeah. Frank Lampard's first game in charge for Bowes. Do you remember that moment and what did you feel like you were maybe, you were obviously ready because the manager felt you were ready, but 14 was quite an experience for you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it was weird because, like, I remember it was during the summer, so I came back into school after the summer and that's what people are talking about, you know what I mean? It was different at the time, but I think now you see more young players are coming through and playing, you know what I mean? So it's not as weird now, but at the time it was, to me, it wasn't really anything, you know what I mean? But you're seeing all the things that people were saying on Twitter and Google or whatever, but it didn't really bother me.
You don't pay much attention to the social media hype?
I don't really care, to be honest.
Ignore it. Listen, Evan, great stuff. Congrats on the cap last week, and first of many, hopefully, no doubt. And the goals will come now in the Euro 2024 qualifiers. Evan Ferguson, thanks a million.